For over a dozen years, enthusiasts from around the state gathered at Dave Wright's airport hangar in Creswell, Oregon, to enjoy the thrill of soaring over the bucolic farmland and share Dave's passion for skydiving.
It was so inspiring to be around him at the airport and all the people there. He attracted amazing people, of which are still my friends to this day.
The Creswell City Administration always attempted to keep it off of the agenda, but because we were spending so much in legal fees and spending so much resources, and there was always headlines about the airport, it was hard for the topic not to come up.
The owners of the hangar fell behind in their lease payments due to an action from the city saying you can't operate your business anymore.
The situation is kind of portrayed in a negative light, by some at least, that the city's a bad guy.
In time, the airport was home base for two skydiving companies, working side by side. At the peak of operations, this sleepy airport was averaging 105 daily takeoff and landings, until somebody complained.
We used to take our equipment to the airport manager's husband's business. He's a mechanic on the airport. We also had a deal where, you know, I'd pay him $1,000 and then I'd pull parts out of his place, you know. But after a while, another guy moved on the airport. Shelley's husband, or the airport manager's husband, didn't want to annual our aircraft, so I just decided that my business was going to go to the guy that would do the work, all the work. And you know, it works better that way, because then it's all under one house and one guy's doing the work on the airplane. It's a lot safer operation that way. And so kind of right after we decided not to do that, you know, things got uncomfortable here.
I believe that the airport manager's husband was hearing enough from his customers, and the airport manager also thought, well, we need to do something with this.
The group that associated itself with the airport manager, as far as I'm concerned, just created a bunch of problems out of thin air. You know, they would tell the FAA that we were jumping through the clouds. The FAA would come out here and watch what we do, and they go, no, you're not.
I think there was a small group of pilots that were always opposed to the skydivers, that lobbied to have them kicked off the field or prevented from operating on the field.
You know, the problem really within the city of Creswell with the folks at the proprietors of both of the skydiving companies really fell upon several city councilors, the airport managers very specifically, and the administrator and the city finance director. These folks did not like, it was a personality conflict. They did not like these people running the airport, the skydiving operations at the airport.
Skydivers are kind of rough on the edge. I just don't think they liked them. I mean, we see that a lot in life. One group doesn't like another group. You try to exclude them, make things difficult for them. And I think that is what happened there.
I put my foot down and let them know that, you know, we cannot discriminate against a federally approved, you know, aviational recreational activity at a federally funded recreational airport.
In 2005 and 2006, it kind of came to a head, and we lost our ability to be able to operate on the airport, both myself and my competitor, Dave Wright.
The Oregon Department of Transportation was leasing land to Creswell that adjoined the airport runway, and the skydiving operators had leases with the city to use the open field as a drop zone.
They never had a safety issue before, and all of a sudden out of the blue it was unsafe. So that was like, where is that coming from?
I understood that the airport manager got up and said that skydiving wasn't safe on the airport, so they tabled that lease, and in other words, they didn't redo the lease.
Urban Moore was able to keep his operation going. It was at reduced level, because he was having to land off airport and pick up the people.
I lucked out and chose a place. Actually, we were offered it by one of the skydivers that jumped here to use his, thinking that, oh, we'll be back shortly, you know, but that was in 2006, and we didn't get back until February of this year, 2014.
could the Wrights have done that or not?
He finally found a farmer's field to land on, and evidently the city administrator and the airport manager said that that was an emergency landing area.
The city lied when they went to the county and made their presentation in front of Gary Darnell, who was the hearings official at that time. He was the lawyer that was acting like a judge. And based on the city's statements about the piece of property that he wanted to use being a designated emergency landing strip and all that sort of stuff was, I mean, everything's an emergency landing strip. The people who owned the property, the clacks, were never notified by the city that was what they were going to do. The city never paid them any easement, never condemned the property, never put it on any official document as far as an emergency landing area.
An emergency landing area is any place your airplane ends up when the engine quits. And so to say that's an emergency landing area is an inaccurate statement, because in fact they're letting trees grow there now. If it's an emergency landing area, should have gone up there and said, oh no, you can't plant trees.
They scuttled his project.
You have potential to fly far. Don't let them make you fumble and fall.
Since this was his principal place of business and the city had said you can't skydive anymore, that caused him to get behind in his lease payments.
As he was losing ground and losing the battle, you know, he would just be like, well, I'm not going to pay my rent this month because it's just not fair. It's not right that they're doing this. And he would get more and more tired, and I could just see that he was ultimately going to lose the whole thing.
The situation with the Wright hangar is ugly. Some people feel that the city, in banning the skydiving, brought on the despondency of Mr. Wright and his eventual death.
He had, over $150,000, $160,000 investment in that hangar, including, his a well that he dug, a septic system that he dug, and installed a fantastic hangar. It's actually the best hangar on the airport grounds, and they confiscated that in court. Instead of saying we will auction and pay, and so we can pay our fees and pay him the balance, instead they just simply confiscated it.
In December 2008, the circuit court ruled because Dave Wright was repeatedly behind in his lease payments, he must vacate the $150,000 airport hangar he built. Dave Wright owed $1,076.13 on his lease.
They appeared in court to city administration and the airport manager with no knowledge of all the city council. Now, I say that because there's a good old boy syndrome that was going on, and some folks had their foot in the door a little bit more than the others, and there were many off-site meetings, many phone calls, many conversations always going on in corners of rooms that I wasn't a part of and I wasn't privy to because I didn't agree with some of the decisions that were being made.
When you lease land here from the city of Eugene and build the hangar, you own it and it's your asset. And you're free to sell it and transfer your lease, and in fact there are provisions for that, so you own an asset and you're in control of it. At Creswell, you lease a spot, you build a hangar, you then sign it over immediately to the city and they lease it back to you. Now they have a term on the lease, and you can transfer that lease. In essence, you're not selling your hangar, you're selling the right to that lease. But if something happens, such as you get in arrears on your lease payment or something of that nature, they take it away and they don't feel compelled to give you full value for your asset.
Before the circuit ruled in favor of the city, Mr. Wright had tendered a check for the full amount of $1,076.13 due on the lease agreement. The day after the court decision, Mr. Wright wrote the court pleading for relief. I struggle with their moral right to take the structure I built and paid for as restitution for a $1,000 debt that I'm more than willing and have attempted to pay. Mark Shrives told local news media, "I have nothing against skydiving. I am just trying to adhere to the rules and regulations of the city and the FAA."
None of us knew what to do.
I had the opportunity to talk with a lot of pilots, and the reason they haven't built here, they did not like the idea of building a hangar and then having to donate it to the city.
It'd be like if you wanted to live in the city, that you'd have to turn your property over to the city to live here. It's the same thing. Who would want that? If you wanted to run a business in the city, you'd have to turn your building over to the city to run a business in the city. Nobody would want that. So why do we do it at the airport?
The city leased it out to somebody else. It says, well, that would have been another option, is that Wright could have subleased it himself to somebody else.
It was overwhelming. Every night he was so frustrated. He didn't know, and he loved skydiving. Loved skydiving. We talked about stories about when he was skydiving with his dad and his brothers. That's why they're the Wright brothers, because Tim was jumping with him at the time, and Jim started jumping with him initially. Rob never was in it, but so it was the brothers and the dad. And Dave talked about how it started, with canopies on your front. And so he had so much fondness. It was his life. He had so much fondness for the airport, to make his hobby his life.
Well, and of course another option would have been for him to sell the lease.
Yeah, the lease has a value. Let's just say you paid $110,000 to build your building. You got a 20-year lease. At 10 years, that lease is not really worth that same 110 anymore, because you got only 10 years to run. And the closer you get down to that lease expiration, the less value you have. Whereas if you own an asset, the value of that asset appreciates with inflation, or with the need in the market. The real estate market principles apply if you own it.
When this started happening with the airport, it was really sad to watch his business slip through his fingers, as if he couldn't really do anything about it. Dave was not. He was a fighter for everything, for his family, for his business, to have it run impeccably. He was an Olympic gymnast. He was a fighter. He did what he had to do to get the job done well and right.
This airport could be a dream. It could be the jewel of an Oregon airport if it were managed properly, and it's not.
The big thing to me is we still have a city employee who has lied every step of the way, and not just in front of Dave Wright, in front of the city council, telling him, I mean, this person does not have the moral, what do I want to say, ethical standards to be in that position.
We asked Creswell Airport Manager Shelley Humble for comment. She declined to be interviewed.
I would love nothing more than to see a wrong righted, and for the people that were accountable to be held accountable and have consequences come up against them, whether it's financial or, in relationships, or just their own relationship to themselves, and whether or not they come out as a better human being is my whole intention, is to have people be accountable for the stuff that they pull that is not, it's not right.
I mean, she lied at Dave Wright's hearing. She did a PowerPoint demonstration that we countered that was full of lies. That was kind of the beginning of the end for us. I mean, the real big deal. She's lied to the city council on a couple of occasions, at least, with the AWAS tower. She told, and Mark Shrives also told, that the council that this site had been approved when it hadn't been approved. It had, at that time, had not been approved. That was one of the reasons why Mark Shrives is no longer here. He's not a reliable person.
I am not interested in talking about the Creswell Airport.
Okay, I just had some questions about it. Would you be willing to answer some questions?
No, don't want to answer any questions about Creswell.
It seemed like we would have to beg for information, and then they would push it to executive session, and the things that would be discussed at the executive session, and some of the decisions made at executive sessions, I think were absolutely illegal. I believe that they were inappropriate, but the oversight that was assigned was the local Creswell media, which was also the dearest and best of friends with the airport manager.
Is it morally right for the city or any government entity to take more money from you than what's owed?
It's the kind of thing that I wouldn't want done to me, and I can't understand, and I can't imagine that any of the people in the city would want that type of thing done to them, and yet it's been done to the Wrights.
We're looking through the commission at, you know, things to expend to get us more revenue, one thing, and so one of the things that we'd like to see is more aviation-related business on the airport.
You can't get a loan on a lease. You have to get a loan on a property. So they've gone to Independence, they've gone to Eugene, and they've gone to the Cottage Grove Airport. And this is something I wanted our council to see, that these people didn't care for that. And unfortunately, a number of them have brought up what's happened to Dave Wright. They go, there's a perfect example. What happened to Dave Wright could have happened to any of us.
And it was silly because the skydivers used so much fuel from the airport. They like kept the airport going. And the skydivers, all the skydivers and the business that the skydivers brought in ate at the town. So they would bring in a lot of revenue just to Creswell.
This is what puzzles me, because we're trying really hard to make this look like the airport that it should be. I mean, it's in a good location, it's a beautiful airport, and it's just not managed properly, and yet they keep spending money on how to manage it and how to fix it, but they never listen to anybody that they pay to do this.
I think the Creswell Airport has the potential to be like that. It's got a good location, it's easy access, you can see it from the freeway, which would attract drive-by people looking over and going, oh look, there's an airport. Oh look, there's activity going. Let's go see that. Oh look, there's a biplane flying. Oh look, somebody's coming down in a parachute. Let's go see what's going on.
And people appreciated Creswell for that. Like everybody knew about Creswell on the map because they jumped out of an airplane at Wright Brothers Skydiving or at Urban's place.
Private pilot Jerry Norcia is on a quest to make things right by returning the hangar lease to the Wright family.
So what I did is I looked up some quotes in the Bible, thinking that maybe this mayor would say, wow, you know, he's right. And one of the quotes was James 4:17, where it says, therefore, anyone who knows what is right but fails to do it is guilty of sin.
The current City of Creswell mayor, Dave Stram, a retired minister, has declined to comment.
The lease can be considered property, and the city is able to sell property from one person, from the municipality to the to private citizens, and so that's probably the best way would be for the Wrights to purchase at a very nominal rate, say $10 or something like that, in order to do it in a lawful manner and still right the wrong of the past.
I don't know. The city. It'd be nice if the city did something to reverse that. It seemed to me it'd be the right thing to do. In keeping with the golden rule, to do unto others as you have them do unto you. Just from that basis, it would be right.
I guess, you have to do things according to the law. I mean, I know from just a personal standpoint, yes, that would be nice to be able to do that.
The council has a very wide purview. If you look at our city charter and you look at our council governing rules, you'll see that in this city, the city council has a lot of power. The mayor has a lot of power to set policy and to do rulemaking and to create ordinances which have the same force and effect as a law created by the state legislature.
I mean, I feel like it ultimately took his life. The whole thing, taking the hangar right out from underneath them, just the whole battle, just tore him right down.
pro skydiving.